A 9-year-old girl stood frozen in a crowded mall, unable to speak. When Officer Blake's K-9 partner approached, she made one desperate hand gesture, a signal she'd learned from a cartoon. What the trained police dog uncovered in the next 7 minutes would expose a nightmare hiding in plain sight and reunite a shattered family. I need you to imagine something for a moment. Imagine being 9 years old and knowing a terrible secret, but being too afraid to tell anyone. Imagine watching someone you love suffer and feeling powerless to stop it. Now imagine finding the courage to ask for help without saying a single word. That's exactly what Destiny Williams did on an ordinary Saturday afternoon at Riverside Mall. And what happened next didn't just save her family, it changed an entire community forever. Before we dive in, hit that like button if you believe in the power of courage, and subscribe because this story needs to be heard. Trust me, you won't see this twist coming. Let me take you back to where it all began. Destiny Williams was the kind of kid who lit up every room she walked into. 9 years old, fourth grade, and she had this infectious laugh that made everyone around her smile. She lived with her mom, Patricia, and her little brother Corey in Cedar Heights, a working-class neighborhood where everyone knew everyone's business. Patricia worked double shifts as a nurse at County General Hospital, doing everything she could to give her kids a better life. Money was tight, but they had each other. They had love, and for a long time, that was enough. Then Derek Mitchell came into their lives. At first, he seemed like an answer to a prayer. He was charming, helpful, always offering to fix things around the apartment or cook dinner when Patricia worked late. Destiny remembered the first time he made them all laugh at dinner, telling stories about his job at the warehouse. Her mom smiled that night, really smiled, for the first time in months. Patricia was exhausted from carrying everything alone, and Derek seemed like he wanted to help carry the load. So when he suggested moving in about 6 months ago, it felt natural. It felt safe. But here's the thing about people who hide darkness inside them. They're really good at wearing masks until they don't need to anymore. The changes started small. Derek would make little comments about Patricia's schedule, questioning why she needed to have coffee with her coworker Janet, suggesting she was spending too much money on groceries. He'd check her phone when she was in the shower, asking who texted her with this friendly smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Patricia would laugh it off, tell Destiny he was just being protective because he cared. But Destiny noticed something her mom didn't want to see. The light in Patricia's eyes was dimming week by week, day by day. Then Derek lost his job at the warehouse. He came home that Tuesday afternoon and slammed the door so hard the dishes rattled in the kitchen cabinets. Destiny was doing homework at the kitchen table, and she watched him pace back and forth, cursing everyone, his boss, his co-workers, the whole world. Patricia tried to comfort him, told him they'd figure it out together, but he pushed past her like she wasn't even there. That night, Destiny heard them arguing through the thin walls of her bedroom. Derek's voice was different, lower, threatening. She heard something crash, then silence. The kind of silence that makes your stomach twist into knots. Things got worse after that. Derek started drinking, staying up until 3 in the morning, watching the door like he expected someone to break in. The apartment felt smaller, darker, like all the air had been sucked out of it. Patricia stopped singing while she cooked. She stopped talking about her day. When Destiny asked her mom if she was okay, Patricia would force a smile and say everything was fine. Just fine, honey. Don't worry. But Destiny saw the bruises. The one on her mom's wrist that she said came from bumping into a door. The faint mark on her cheek that she covered with makeup. 9-year-old Destiny wasn't stupid. She knew what doors didn't do to people. The day everything changed happened about a week before that Saturday at the mall. Destiny came home early from school. It was a half day for parent-teacher conferences. She walked into the apartment and heard voices in the kitchen. Her mom's voice high and frightened, pleading. Destiny dropped her backpack and ran toward the sound, and what she saw made her blood freeze in her veins. Derek had Patricia pressed against the kitchen wall, his forearm across her throat, his face inches from hers, spitting words that Destiny couldn't quite hear but understood in her bones. Patricia's eyes were wide with terror. Then Derek saw her. He stepped back immediately, that mask sliding back into place, but not before Destiny saw what was really there. Not before she saw the monster wearing her mom's boyfriend's face. He walked over to her slowly, crouched down to her level and put his hand on her shoulder. His grip was gentle, but his eyes were ice. "You didn't see anything, Destiny," he said quietly. "You say one word to anyone, teachers, neighbors, police, and your mom loses everything. They'll take you and Corey away. You'll end up in different foster homes, never see each other again. Is that what you want?" Destiny shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "Good girl," he said, patting her cheek. "This is our family business. We keep it in the family." From that moment on, Destiny lived in a prison made of fear and silence. She went to school and pretended everything was normal. She did her homework, played with Corey, watched cartoons, but inside she was screaming. Inside she was drowning. And the worst part? She believed Derek. She believed that speaking up would destroy what was left of her family. That somehow staying quiet was the same as keeping everyone safe. But silence has a weight to it, and Destiny was carrying more than any 9-year-old should ever have to bear. Then came that Saturday. Patricia announced they were going to Riverside Mall as a family. She said it with this desperate brightness, like if she could just pretend hard enough, everything would be okay again. Derek insisted on coming along, and Patricia couldn't say no, not without risking another argument, another shove, another bruise to hide. So they all piled into Derek's car, and Destiny sat in the back holding Corey's hand, staring out the window, feeling like she was trapped in a nightmare she couldn't wake up from. The mall was packed that afternoon, families everywhere, kids laughing, the smell of pizza and cinnamon rolls hanging in the air. Normal life? Happy life. The kind of life Destiny used to have. They walked through the corridors, Derek's hand gripping Patricia's elbow too tightly, steering her like she was his property. Destiny watched people pass by, all these strangers who had no idea what was happening right in front of them. How could they know? From the outside, they probably looked like any other family enjoying a Saturday afternoon. That's when Destiny saw him. Officer David Blake, 15-year veteran of the Cedar Heights Police Department, standing near the food court with the most beautiful German shepherd she'd ever seen. The dog was massive, alert, wearing a vest that said K9 unit. Officer Blake was talking to some kids, letting them pet his partner, smiling that easy smile that cops have when they're doing community outreach. And something clicked in Destiny's brain. Something she'd seen a few weeks ago on a cartoon show during their after-school programming. They'd done a public service announcement about kids in danger, about how sometimes you can't speak up because it's not safe. But there are other ways to ask for help. They'd shown a hand signal, a simple gesture that meant, "Game up, I need help," without saying a word. Destiny's heart started pounding so hard she thought everyone could hear it. Her palms were sweating. Derek's threats echoed in her head. Foster homes, separation, losing everything. But she looked at her mom's face, at the emptiness behind her eyes, and she thought about Corey, about what would happen if nobody ever did anything. She thought about what Derek might do next week or next month or tomorrow, and she made a choice. The kind of choice that takes every ounce of courage a 9-year-old has. She let go of Corey's hand and drifted toward a toy store window, pretending to look at dolls. Derek was distracted, arguing with Patricia about something in a low hiss. Officer Blake and his dog walked past just a few feet away. Destiny's whole body was shaking, but she did it. She made a fist with her right hand, tucked her thumb inside, and then closed her fingers over it. Then she pointed, just slightly, toward her family, and she looked directly at the German shepherd, making eye contact, willing him to understand. The dog stopped, just stopped dead in his tracks and turned his massive head toward Destiny. For a moment, a hand seemed to freeze. Then the shepherd did something incredible. He sat down, raised his right paw, and stared directly at Officer Blake with this intense, focused look. Blake's smile faded. He'd worked with Ranger for 5 years, and he knew every one of his partner's signals. That particular behavior meant one thing: distress alert. Someone needs help. Officer Blake approached casually, hands relaxed, voice friendly. "Hey there, folks. Everything okay today?" Derek's whole demeanor changed. His back went rigid, his jaw clenched. "We're fine, officer. Just shopping with the family." But his grip on Patricia's arm tightened. Blake noticed. Of course he noticed. 15 years on the force teaches you to see what people try to hide. He saw Patricia's body language, the way she wouldn't meet his eyes, the slight tremor in her hands. He saw Corey starting to cry, sensing the fear without understanding it. And he saw Destiny, this little girl with tears streaming down her face, standing absolutely frozen. Ranger made the decision for him. The dog moved between Destiny and Derek, positioning his body as a shield, a low growl rumbling in his chest. "Sir, I'm going to need you to take your hand off the lady's arm," Blake said, his voice still calm but with steel underneath. "We're just going to have a conversation. Make sure everyone's safe." Derek's mask finally shattered. "You can't do this. You have no right. We're not doing anything wrong." His voice rose, attracting attention from other shoppers. Blake pressed his radio, calling for backup. "I've got a possible domestic situation at Riverside Mall, food court area. Need additional units." Within minutes, two more officers arrived, Officer Chen and Officer Rodriguez. Blake asked them to take Patricia and the children to a quiet corner while he dealt with Derek. But Derek was unraveling fast, his voice getting louder, his movements more erratic. Officer Chen gently led Patricia away while Rodriguez stayed with Blake. And that's when Destiny finally broke. Standing with Officer Chen, watching Derek being confronted, all the fear and pain and secrets came pouring out of her like a dam had burst. "He hurts my mom," she sobbed. "He said if I told anyone, they'd take us away. He said we'd never see each other again." He pushes her and yells at her and makes her cry. "I wanted to tell someone. I wanted to so bad, but I was so scared. I saw the hand signal on TV and I thought maybe—" She couldn't finish. Officer Chen knelt down, putting a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You were so brave," she said softly. "You did exactly the right thing. And nobody is taking you away from your mom. I promise you that." Patricia finally spoke, the words tumbling out like she'd been holding them back for months. The escalation, the threats, the isolation, the times he'd hurt her while the kids were asleep. She'd been terrified to leave, convinced he'd make good on his threats, ashamed that she'd let it get this far. "I thought I could handle it," she whispered. "I thought I was protecting them by keeping quiet. But I was just making it worse, wasn't I?" When they ran Derek's information, everything came into sharp focus. Outstanding warrants in 2 states, a restraining order from an ex-girlfriend in Florida that he'd violated, a history of domestic violence charges that never quite stuck because his victims were too afraid to testify. Derek Mitchell wasn't just abusive. He was a serial perpetrator who'd gotten away with it for years, until a 9-year-old girl and a trained police dog refused to let him get away with it anymore. As they led Derek away in handcuffs, still screaming about his rights, Officer Blake sat down with Destiny. Ranger rested his big head on her lap, and she buried her fingers in his fur. "How did you know to do that signal?" Blake asked gently. Destiny explained through her tears about the cartoon, the public service announcement, how she'd remembered it in that desperate moment. Blake shook his head in amazement. "Do you understand what you did? You saved your family. You saved your mom. That took more courage than most adults have." The aftermath was a whirlwind. Patricia and the kids were connected with a domestic violence shelter that provided counseling, legal support, and a safe place to stay while they figured out their next steps. A temporary protective order was issued against Derek, and given his history, the charges against him were serious enough to keep him locked up for years. Patricia took leave from work, not to hide anymore, but to heal, to help her children heal, to finally deal with the trauma they had all been carrying. The story hit the local news within days. Young girl's brave signal saves family from domestic violence. The K-9 unit received commendations for Ranger's alertness and training. The Cartoon Network that had aired that public service announcement was contacted by journalists, and they were stunned to learn their message had actually saved lives. They sent Destiny a video message, calling her a hero, thanking her for proving that awareness campaigns matter. The community rallied around the Williams family in ways Patricia never expected. Donations, meal trains, job offers, support that she'd been too ashamed to ask for, but desperately needed. 3 months later, the transformation was remarkable. Derek was facing multiple felony charges and looking at serious prison time. Patricia had full custody of her children, a new position at the hospital with better hours, and they'd moved to a quieter, safer neighborhood. Destiny was laughing again, that infectious laugh that had been silent for too long. She still had nightmares sometimes, still went to therapy every week, but she was healing. They all were. The silence that had nearly destroyed them was replaced with openness, with honest conversations about feelings and safety and what real love looks like. Officer Blake and Ranger became regular visitors to Destiny's school. They did assemblies about the K-9 unit, about safety, about the importance of asking for help when you need it. Blake told Destiny's story with her permission because she wanted other kids to know they weren't alone. You don't have to be big or strong to be brave, he told auditorium after auditorium of kids. You just have to be smart and trust that help exists. And sometimes help comes with 4 legs and a wagging tail. Patricia found her voice too. She started volunteering at the shelter that had helped her, leading support groups for other survivors, sharing her story to help break the shame and silence that keeps people trapped. I thought staying quiet would protect my children, she told other women sitting in those same scared chairs she'd once sat in. But my daughter's courage taught me that silence only protects abusers. Speaking up, asking for help, that's what protects the people we love. The last thing I want you to know is this. Destiny is 12 now. She wants to become a veterinarian and work with K-9 units when she grows up. Ranger retired last year after a distinguished career, and Officer Blake adopted him. But guess who visits them every single month? That's right, Destiny and her family. Patricia runs a support group that has helped 47 families escape dangerous situations. Corey is thriving in school, learning that home should be a place of safety and laughter, not fear. And Derek Mitchell is serving an 8-year sentence, with additional charges pending in 2 other states. If this story moved you, don't just scroll past. Hit that like button. Let's spread awareness about domestic violence and the courage it takes to speak up. Share this video because it might reach someone who desperately needs to see it. Subscribe to this channel for more stories of incredible courage and second chances. And here's something crucial. That hand signal Destiny used is real. Palm forward, tuck your thumb in, close your fingers over it. It's a silent signal for help that could save a life. Share this knowledge. You never know who might need it. Leave a comment and tell us what you think. Your voice matters, your story matters. And remember, sometimes the bravest thing you can do is ask for help. Sometimes help comes with a badge and 4 legs. Sometimes heroes are 9 years old and scared out of their minds, but find courage anyway. Thank you for watching, and remember, heroes come in all sizes.